Hey, Sammy here. I'm not your typical job counselor. I work remote and I travel the world as I kickstart careers. This is raw, real, and on the road. Welcome to the Career Kickstart Show.
Hi, I'm Samantha Gardner here with the Career Kickstart, and I have with me Samantha Alvarez, who is amazing. Spoiler alert. Say hi, Sam.
Hi, Sam.
I am so excited to have her on because one thing to know about Sam Alvarez is that, one, I think she's awesome. Two, she is my digital nomad inspiration. She is like an international woman of mystery, like taking names and kicking butts all across the world. So I'm going to get done with my fangirling right now and just let her talk about herself. So to start with, Sam, would you just give me your elevator pitch?
I will give you the best of what I can do for an elevator pitch. I am not good at having one, not because I'm not good at making things succinct, but because I have at least 4 distinct elevator pitches. It depends on who I'm talking to and why. But that comes with the territory of being an entrepreneur. My main elevator pitch is that I'm a sales consultant. I do coaching for people who are looking to increase revenue, increase sales on their small to medium-sized business. My second elevator pitch is that I work for the same startup that Miss Sami does, but I work on the other end of the spectrum. My title is as a career advisor, and I'm talking to people before they get into the course to help them decide if they want to, if it's the right thing for them, or if they should do something else. Another elevator pitch I have for myself is that I teach language courses online. I teach the emotive style language learning course. So I help people learn to hold a conversation in the language of your dreams in 30 days or less. And I've got a couple other ones, but that's enough.
And I'm just going to throw out there that I actually did buy your emotive learning course because I have been working with that in Duolingo to try to get my Portuguese above being able to say that I'm a woman, except I pretty much say it badly. So you're more like having to be like, okay, honey, you did say woman somehow, past tense and present tense. But yeah, so your course is really awesome. And what I like about you, Sam, is the fact that you're so willing to go for things. In fact, I know that when I was looking over your LinkedIn, that one of the coolest things about you as a professional is that, you know, you're willing to take the jump, you're willing to try something new, and along the way, you've learned so many cool skills, you know, that it's really interesting to follow your career. So, of course, that leads me to my next question, which is, how has your career changed over the years?
So I think you put this in some of the messaging about this live, that I've had 63 different jobs in my life. So that's, again, a really hard question to answer, but it's kind of fun. So I started delivering papers when I was 12, graduated to working in food service and bookstores by the time I was 16. Little Caesar's Pizza, man. And when I was 18 in college, I did a bunch of college jobs. I did tutoring. I worked with young kids doing cultural activities and homework help. And then I worked in my early 20s. Then I went to nursing school and then started working as a nurse for a couple of years. And then I started working as a nurse practitioner for a couple of years. And then I went entrepreneurial for the past 3 years. And I have been doing all kinds of crazy stuff. The past 3 years, now I do sales consulting, sales just straight up as a sales, like as a representative. And I also do, I do a bunch of different teaching type things with the linguistics, with the language learning course, and I also teach as a university professor online. During these 3 years when I was trying to figure out my online niche, I worked as an accountant, I worked as a content creator, I had a blogging gig or a writer. Did I say an accountant or bookkeeper? I was a bookkeeper for 2 months. I've briefly done some nurse practitioner type stuff online, just all kinds of different things. And just like you said, my career trajectory has been led by my curiosity and relationships that I make and wanting to be part of something new that was creating new opportunities for me and the people around me.
For sure. And the thing I think to do all this sort of little pivots and jobs and harnessing everything that I've learned throughout my whole career to just stay traveling. I think that's something a lot of people dream about, doing the digital nomad thing, but not everybody actually does it, because it's not so much as what you see on Instagram, where it's pretty much somebody with like their like legs in the pool with a laptop being like, I'm always using my $2,000 laptop in the pool. You know, it's not quite like that.
It doesn't matter to me at all that the sand gets in it on the beach, and it's actually not fun to work on the beach because everyone else is on the bench and you're working on your laptop. Oh, and in the middle of that, I started a startup for a while about burnout. I wrote a burnout recovery guide. Yeah, that was my first entrepreneurial venture, failed miserably, and I learned a ton of stuff from it, which was stuff I needed to learn. Yeah, I've always been pretty willing to pivot on the drop of a hat. And especially in the online world, that entrepreneurship, you just kind of have to, like, whatever you are passionate about and that people are willing to pay you for and that you're really good at, and those three things all come together, that changes regularly. And you have to go with wherever that conversion of those three things is. You need to go there and stay there as long as it's there, and then you leave.
In fact, just thinking about all the times that you've done this, you're probably somebody who is uniquely able to kind of say, what is, you know, how do you know that you need to start pivoting? And maybe you can give some insight for other people out there who maybe like are wondering, okay, I know maybe I want to do something, I'm not sure.
Why don't you jump to your next question? Because that was actually, when I was thinking about the questions, that was part of my answer.
Oh, okay. Then the greatest gift that anyone has given you in your career, that one?
Yeah.
Okay. It's good that you are paying attention. Oh, God, I just hit the thing. So now, without my fancy graphic that goes on the bottom to tell us the question, I will repeat it for myself mainly. What is the greatest gift that you have been given in your career?
The greatest gift that I was given in my career was being fired, actually.
Oh, do tell.
Well, I've actually, you know, when you do 63 jobs, you're bound to get fired. You know, like, I'm an awesome person, I'm really great and whatever, but sometimes it's just not a good fit, or you just don't want to be there, or they don't want you there. So I've been fired probably, I don't know, 5, 6, maybe 8 times in my life, which is not bad. Out of 63 jobs, that's, you know, like 10% or below. So I'm pretty happy with that. But the one that I'm thinking of was, I had worked in one area of this. It was a nursing thing. I'd worked in one area of this company or health system for a while and had done quite well, and people were quite happy with me. And then I switched over to a new area, which was supposed to be my long-term thing. And the medical director looked at me and she was like, "Oh, you are here?" It was horrible. She took one look at me and was like, ooh, like looking at like the dog poop that she just stepped on her foot, the bottom of her foot. And, you know, my personality is I like people to like me. I like to do things well. Once I commit to something, I really see it through to the end. Like, I push hard on things. So I would have pushed this really, really hard because I really wanted to do it and I wanted to do the thing. But she just basically looked at me and was like, no, this doesn't work for me. And she fired me within a week. Yeah, I was fired. I think I started on a Monday. I was fired the following Tuesday, the day after Christmas.
Oh, the day after Christmas, that should be illegal. You should at least give people until the New Year's to know, hey, buddy, get in the unemployment line.
However, there was no unemployment line because I was still on probation, so I wasn't officially, you know, like, didn't make it past my probation or whatever. But because of my position, I had to give, because as a nurse practitioner, I have to give 90 days notice. And if they want to get rid of me, they have to give 90 days notice to me as well. So they had to pay me for 3 months.
Nice.
She wanted me out so bad, she was willing to kick me out and have me be paid for 3 months. And that was a really rough point in my life. And so I was able to actually use those 3 months, still getting paid as a nurse practitioner, which is quite a nice wage, I might add, while sitting at home, like losing my mind. And I had time to lose my mind and figure out my own stuff. And I got my next job. And I had that job for 4 years. It was the longest job I ever kept. It was 4 years after that one.
Gotcha. Well, and that is something that is true. Usually getting fired does put some things in perspective. I know that when I got fired from a theater job, my first job in college, it made me go, oh my God, I need to spend a lot less time dancing in warehouses and more time working on myself because I got to fix this. It sounds like you had a more mature, like, eat, pray, love sort of 3 months than me just being like, I got to stop being a dirty hippie. I have to be a cleaned up hippie.
I was still getting paid during those 3 months. That's the catch.
That is a nice catch. That is pretty nice. I will agree.
That's a big part of why it was such a big gift. And so one of the other things that you were asking me about before was like my best advice for somebody who is looking to like feeling stagnant or feeling frustrated and needing to move on, but not really being sure how. So the best gift somebody gave me was to get rid of me right away. I was gone within 8 days. And my best advice for people feeling stagnant has also been, shoot, I skipped forward. That's okay.
It's okay.
I was thinking of the biggest mistake. We'll figure it out. It's going to be okay.
We're doing it live, folks.
Yeah, right. We're making this up as we go. Because I totally didn't do this right in my head either. But so getting the boot was the biggest positive thing I had. And then of course it also made a big difference that I was paid during that time, and I was able to take basically a sabbatical from life for about 2 of those 3 months. And the biggest mistakes that I've made while in my career have been holding on to things too tightly, where I've been like, yeah, I know I'm answering the wrong question. Terribly sorry, okay. Sammy. Screwing up your system. Your system
I don't
is destroyed.
It's about the conversation, not the questions.
It has been. I know I spent too much time looking at these questions. I should not have prepared as much as I did. If I didn't prepare, I would just be surprised and make it up on the spot. Not today. This is the one day I prepared. Way to go, Samantha. The biggest mistake I've made is holding on to things too tightly. For example, my first job after going nomadic was a sales position. So I was working there for a couple of years, and the first year that I worked there, I made less than $1,000 a month. But I was holding on to that, and I was like, I don't know, I didn't value myself. I was like, I don't know if I can get anything else, and I'm too nervous to move on, and if I don't, I have the apple in my hand, I don't want to go for the one in the tree, and I was just really nervous about moving on from something that simply wasn't a good fit. And it was a good fit at first. Like the first 6 months or so, it was a very good fit. But then after that, I wasn't making I wasn't earning the amount of money that I had been told that I would anywhere near it. And I was working way harder. I was supposed to be a 20-hour-a-week job where I made $2,500 a month. It was a 60-hour-a-week job where I made $900 a month. This did not work well for me. And I held on to that for almost 2 years because I didn't feel like I was worthy, that I would be able to find something else. And I think of that also in other areas of my life and of my career. It's like I've numerous times held on to something because it's like, oh, I don't know if I can get something better, and I'm not sure if I deserve something better, and maybe it's, this is the best I can do. And the best things that I've done, which then turns into my best advice for when you're feeling stagnant, is go do something. Doesn't mean you have to get a new job. Maybe you need to get a new job. Sometimes you do, but go do something. Whether that's something that you're really passionate about, that's a hobby, whether that's something related to another job skill set that you have or that you'd like to have, but go get passionate about and dive into something. And for example, for me, while I work at a position now where I'm doing sales consulting. I was actually hired by this company to create a sales pipeline for them, and then was hired on to do sales for them because I really liked working with them. And then doing the sales part wasn't as fun anymore. And I was like, I'd been doing it over a year and I felt kind of stagnant. And I was like, what's the next thing I want to do? And I realized I really enjoyed the consulting part of what I did with them. So I started actively looking for more consulting gigs, started getting more my mindset around it. Like, hey, I kind of want to do this. Oh, there's...
You're in Sao Paulo.
I am, and there's helicopters behind. There's helicopter pads behind me. I don't think you can see any, but there's helicopter pads behind me that make tons of noise, and the airplanes go by, and yeah, it's really cool.
Life of a digital nomad, glamorously traveling the globe, currently in Sao Paulo, Brazil. I understand these things happen.
Hashtag first world problem. It is true. It is true. So that's my advice. And that's what I've done in my world. When I burned out as a nurse practitioner, I couldn't do it anymore. I'd been doing nursing for about 10 years between nurse and nurse practitioner. And I was burnt out. I made a lot of money, but I just wasn't happy. And I was more than unhappy. I was miserable. And I decided to take a sabbatical. I just took 6 months off of life, and I saved up a bunch of money, and then went and spent it all in less than 6 months. Not my best trip. But I went to Japan, and Japan's really expensive. But I went to Japan to be in a Japanese school and learn Japanese and sleep on a tatami mat floor with 3 other girls where our elbows are touching because there's so little room. It was just like polar opposite of what I was living as a nurse practitioner. Everybody's like, oh, you're the doctor, you're in charge, I'm so glad you're here, you can do this and that and the other thing, which I was. And that was, there are parts of that are an earned privilege. Like I need to have that level of, I need to accept that responsibility along with that privilege in order to be effective as a nurse practitioner, but I needed to be just away from that and be a total beginner again and not have people looking up to me that way. So I went to Japan and learned Japanese for 6 months. And then I ran out of money and I came back to the States to work as a nurse practitioner again. Got a couple of online jobs, started doing the sales thing, started doing the online university thing. I teach nurse practitioner students. Made it doing that for almost a couple of years. And here I am. It's been quite a journey.
It has. And what I really like about your journey is how, when you realize that you had this level of burnout, and this is just purely a personal reason, because that's part of why I ended up leaving my position, as you well know, because you got to hear me every week being like, why I don't like my job anymore, because while I love the impact I was making, I was not making your level of money because I was working for a grassroots nonprofit, but it was one of those things where, I felt that level of drain where I knew I was making some impact, but, when you work for a nonprofit dealing with systematic oppressions, it's kind of more of a two-step. So it was one of those things where learning your story and actually utilizing your tools, because I have bought another one of your courses when you did a smaller course on Udemy, the one on burnout. I found that to be really helpful because it was sort of a refreshing thing for me, I think. And you probably understand coming from the same sort of almost like rural, hardworking, everything's supposed to be a struggle, with dirt on your face because the cows need to be brought in or whatever the heck. You know what I'm talking about. I'm from the Amish part of New York. You're from Wisconsin. You know how it goes. Where there's no thought of it could be, you could have some sense of ease. You could have some sense of purpose. You don't need to line up, to go to, wherever you're going to complain about your job every day. And that's what I really liked about your stuff, because you were like, no, you can actually be kind of happy and mindful, and you don't need to numb yourself to your job. I enjoyed that.
And I was quite happy making, I think all of my income sources for my first year being a nomad added up to, I think, $1,200 or $1,300 a month total. And I was very happy. I was not rich. I was barely making enough to survive. But I lived in Southeast Asia, so it was a lot cheaper there, or East Asia rather, in Taiwan for most of that. But I knew what I wanted and I knew I was going for it. And so once I started, honing in on the things that really worked for me, and I started honing in on side hustles and gigs that really made money for me, it became much easier to just allow myself to receive all these things. And even though it was really tough at first, especially financially, it was I'm doing what I want. I'm really, really genuinely happy doing this thing that I'm doing right now, and then I'm going to do something else in a year or two.
And I love that mentality where you're like, you know what, it doesn't need to be perfect. It is for now. And you're taking advantage of your different resources. And you're also thinking outside the box. Not everybody would go, okay, I need to start anew. Where can I go where I can kind of have my in the wilderness time? Oh, I'll go to Southeast Asia and I'll be able to live off $1,000 a month as I figure this stuff out. That's genius. Not everybody thinks outside of the box. So kudos to you and your squishy brain.
Yeah, I'm not good with boxes. I find a box and I like figuring out what the box is. And then my favorite thing to do is to be just barely outside the box. Just right on the edge. I'm not about like destroying everything and blah. It's right now, you're wow, you're really successful. You've been doing this for years. Yeah, that was hard fought. Slightly out of my comfort zone every single day. And that's how I got where I am today, was by just barely being, I don't like shattering things. I like just pushing them gently along and then go, oh, okay, I'm living in São Paulo for the next, I don't know how many months, until I decide to leave because I want to. And then I will go somewhere else. And that will be a new challenge. It's been a really, I feel really fortunate and very grateful to be in this position, but I'm also very, just I did that. It was very much one step at a time, pushing the envelope slightly further. And it's okay, and I have my goals now. I'm at this income level. I want to get to this income level. I'm doing this much with my life. I want to do this much with my life. There's always a next step, and it always feels doable. And it's very clear cut. The more clarity I have, and this is part of my online course. You know this, Sami. This is part of my online course, that you create a crystal clear vision and a crystal clear goal, and then you walk toward it. You take steps toward it, starting right now. Not tomorrow, not today, not in an hour, but literally right now. You do one small thing right now, and then figure out what the next small thing is you can do, and eventually you get somewhere really cool.
And I love that. That is something that I feel like a lot of folks, when they, just because we've known each other for a while, we know a lot of the same people where we've been there with folks who they don't know exactly what they want to do. They know it's not working, but they don't start because they feel like they have to make a big grand gesture, when really it could just be as simple as, I am going to do this one little thing outside of my comfort zone each day or each week, and you can see it snowball. So a lot quicker than you think. It's
remarkable. A lot of people wanting to do the digital nomad thing, because that's another one of my elevator pitches, because a lot of people are interested just in the digital nomad part, because I want to have the sexy laptop lifestyle. And it's great, but it's very difficult in some ways. But a lot of people think oh my God, I have to replace my old salary. Otherwise I can't do digital nomad. And it's I thought that at first too, but I made 6 figures at my old job. How the hell am I going to make 6 figures? Am I allowed to swear on this? Oh, too late now.
You can. Go ahead.
How the hell am I going to make my old salary online? I have to do that, or I can't do this. I have to go back to my job unless I can make $100,000 a year. And it's no. How much do I need to make to not be homeless? And $1,200, $1,300 a month was fine. I mean, I wasn't comfortable, and I wasn't saving any money, but I wasn't homeless. And that was the mindset that really made it possible for me. That what is my non-homeless number? At what level of income do I have to get no matter what? And then I hustled every month to get that, and then worked on my long-term plans. I spent the first 3 weeks of the month being I got to make my $1,300 this month, or I'm going to be homeless because I can't pay rent. in Taiwan or wherever the heck I was. And then the last week of the month, I'd be like, okay, I'm working on my long-term plans because now I know I have enough to eat next month.
Go. I feel like that's definitely something that, you lay it down in a real raw way, in a way where you don't always see when you read about digital nomading. So I really appreciate that. I know that we're getting close to the time, so I want to ask you one last question, because I know that I have to be disciplined, because I could talk to you all day, and in fact we have had marathon conversations. But for the purposes of your time, let's just stick to the one last question. Do you have anything that you're working on now that you'd like to share, or just let us know where we can find you on the web? I guess that's two questions, so oops.
I'll answer them both. Where to find me on the web? There's two places to find me on the web: www.samalvarez.com. That's Sam as in Samantha, A-L-V as in Victor, A-R-E-Z or Z, depending on where you're from. .com is my website. And you can also find me on YouTube, and I will send a link to Miss Samantha over there to share. It's just my name. It's Samantha Alvarez. I mean, I have a bunch of stuff up there. What I'm working on right now is I just launched the Emotive Style language learning course, I don't know, a month or two ago or something like that. I'm currently taking sales consulting clients. So if you're looking for something like that, you're welcome to contact me. And I'm also in the Authentic Career Evolution group, so you can find me here.
Yay! Awesome. I love it. Samantha, you know that I'm one of your biggest fans, so thank you so much for letting me interview you. I feel like you have such a refreshing take on building your career, and the fact that your career went hand in hand with the life that you were building. You wanted to do the digital nomad life, and you built your career around that. You didn't let yourself be sort of a slave to your own career. You took control of it. So I think kudos to you. Thank you again, and enjoy Sao Paulo. So I will talk to you later, and thanks so much for being on.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye.
Find something cool at cool.careerkickstartacademy.com.